everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we officially kick this off, I do want to point out to the audience that we welcome questions. Please utilize the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. Type in questions as they come up, and we will address those at the end of the presentation. So it's my great pleasure to now turn this over to Peter Muntendam, CEO of SQ Innovations. Peter, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much, Connie. And I want to thank the Forest Family Organization for hosting this today. I want to thank you for your interest in the company and this investment opportunity. Before telling you a little bit more about myself, I'd like to introduce two of our team members who are here with me today. At first, Patricia Weisberg, who's our Chief Financial Officer, been with the company since its inception and has completed 4 PCAOB audits on our company. Very unusual for a small company, but running a very tight company from a financial perspective. Also with us is our board member, Kevin Murphy, who joined us last year as a board member. Kevin has a career in the healthcare industry, most notably previously the Senior Vice President, Payer Relationship and Managed Care at Aetna CVS. Also board member of, for example, a payer, in this case, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island. Kevin brings insights in the industry as well as a excellent network of contacts that are very relevant for our company. Very quickly about myself, I'm a physician by training. I'm from the Netherlands originally, worked for the pharma and device company throughout my career. Most significantly worked for Johnson & Johnson, where I was at a young age responsible for international R&D on the pharmaceutical side. I ran a division for Glaxo. But I think what's also relevant in this context is that I have been involved with cardiovascular disease over the past 10 plus years, as evident from a significant publication record, often with leading thought leaders in the field. I've led collaborations with the Framingham Heart Study, the National Health Service in the UK, but also with payors, Humana and Aetna and Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. And over my career, I've raised over $400 million in equity investments, partnerships, and a public offering. The company that we formed is company SQ Innovation, originally formed in Zug, Switzerland, for the right reasons. Since then, somewhat unusual, the investments were almost exclusively led by a single individual. So the reason that we're here in front of Forest family offices is because this company has an FDA-approved product, tentative FDA-approved product, but all of that was achieved with the funds of a family office. In addition to the office from the funding by the individual, the family office, there was a $40 million non-equity contribution by our strategic partner, Gerresheimer, a leading German manufacturer of medical devices and pharmaceutical containers. The investment opportunity that we are currently pursuing is a $15 million equity raise. We have 5.5 million committed from existing investors, and the objective of the funding is to fund the launch of our product, Lasix ONYU. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, as well as the completion of our European filings. The European filings are in progress, and we expect European approvals in the course of next year as well. I want to point out that this has an unusual risk-reward profile in the life sciences industry. Typically, these opportunities are not presented for investment at this stage. And we have tentative FDA approval. I'll tell you more about exactly what tentative means. We have confirmed interest from leading hospital systems to launch our product when it becomes available later this year. It's an incredibly large opportunity due to the nature of the disease. And what is very unusual are the strong economic drivers to drive the adoption interest in the product. What the product is, it's a drug device combination. Best way to think about this is a small insulin pump type device that you can put on your stomach. And when you put it on the stomach, a tiny needle comes out and delivers a drug, and the drug is a diuretic. Again, more about that later. The FDA approved our product through a tentative approval in October of last year. And tentative approval means Everything is approved for the product, its safety, its efficacy, its labeling, its manufacturing. Our manufacturing sites were inspected, but exclusivity granted to another company was in the way of launching the product in October of last year. That exclusivity expires. There's an official expiration date on that exclusivity. That exclusivity expires October 7th. We expect to launch the product immediately after in the fourth quarter of this year. For those familiar with the pharmaceutical space, this product, we have licensed the legendary Lasix brand name that gives instant recognition of the product in the medical community. Talking about the unmet medical need, what is the problem that we're solving with this problem, with this product? I always said when you create a pharmaceutical product or a device, you want to know who's at the end waiting for this product with open arms. And the condition that we're addressing is hospitalizations for heart failure. Heart failure is a serious common chronic condition whereby the heart is unable to meet the demands of the body. And as a consequence, these individuals from time to time retain extra water and salt, makes them, if your kidneys don't see enough fluid pumping through your vascular system, they start retaining water and salt. And as a consequence, these individuals get edema. Just everyone has seen these individuals with very large edema of their legs, for example. And these patients get admitted to the hospital for diuresis to have them urinate out their extra fluid overload. So it's a very common, serious problem. Currently, about 6.7 million people affected in the United States. And also important to note that this incidence continues to rise rapidly because we have people survive their heart attacks in a way that they were previously not in other cardiovascular conditions. How important is this for society, for example? This is in the figure you see a depiction of reasons for hospital admissions. On the horizontal axis is the total number of claims that Medicare pays, and on the vertical axis, the total amount spent in billions of dollars. And there are 773 dots in the diagram, but what you see is that only 5 basically matter. And these 5 are the key reasons for Medicare hospital admissions. 3 out of the 5 are infectious. These patients have infections, sepsis, serious other infections for which they're in the hospital. And the 4th one is a psychosis. The people have to be admitted because of their mental state. And then you see worsening heart failure as the second most common reason for Medicare admissions. And that's the problem that we're tackling. We have a full-strength, hospital-strength, at-home treatment option for heart failure that we've developed. What most people don't appreciate is that Medicare doesn't pay the bill. Medicare pays less than what it costs the hospital to take care of these patients. And this is very important in our story because it provides the driving force for the adoption of our products. So when hospitals see patients in the emergency room with their swollen ankles, they see a financial liability. And so for hospitals, it's attractive to meet their own business objective to help a company like ours to transition these patients from the hospital to the home, to create an alternative to hospitalization. I think most of us in this country appreciate that the healthcare system is in crisis. For those who are following stocks, United Healthcare Group had a bad day last month when the stock dropped roughly 23% because they announced that they were unable to contain their Medicare utilization. And this is what our problem solves. You cannot solve the problem for payers, including the government, by limiting access to care. You really got to sort of roll up your sleeves and come up with a better care for less model. And that's what we've designed this product for. Is this just a US problem? No, absolutely not. These 2 figures are from Germany and the United Kingdom. In Germany, there are 4.7 million hospital bed days per year for this problem. And we believe that we can, with our treatment, transfer about 1 million out of these roughly 5 million to the home where patients can be treated in the comfort of their home with our products. UK, we have a very close relationship with the medical community in the UK. In the UK, despite really good management of these patients, probably exemplary in the world, they still had a 33% increase in hospitalization since 2014. So it's a big problem. It's a big problem everywhere. Last year, we engaged an independent research firm to not ask the people affiliated with the company, but people outside the company, ask them the question, based on the profile of our product, what proportion of patients do you think can be treated safely at home? And there was about 40 leading hospital systems that participated in this, and they predicted that about 27% of these patients would be treated at home with our product. If so, we will have a measurable and meaningful impact on total Medicare expenditures. And I believe that there's really no other company that can say they have a product that allows them to favorably reduce Medicare expenditures and still making care better for patients. Why does this problem, what is this problem? What is the problem clinically? And clinically, the problem is that these patients fill up with water because their oral tablets don't work. Very good example is the following. It's Memorial Day. Patients drive for 3, 4, 5 hours to meet their relatives in Pennsylvania and in the Boston area. And during that trip, the father or the mother says, I'm not going to take my diuretic today because I've got to get to my destination. I don't want to be forced to stop along the way. And then they eat they have a great grilling, eat salty diet, go back, same story, don't take the medication. And now the patient holds another 2, 3, 4 extra liters of fluid, and that interferes with oral absorption of the drug. So you now have a situation where the patient actually needs more drug and less drug is available, and they spiral out of control. The more fluid there is, the less good the absorption of the drug by the gut is. These patients then, at some point, they're really uncomfortable. They're admitted. That patient urinates out an extra 8.3 to 10 liters of fluid, more than 2 gallons of fluid. And you can imagine that's a burden. Even if you have a healthy cardiovascular system, it's an even greater burden if your cardiovascular system is affected. Is this really true? Is this the real story? Most people say that sounds crazy, that we're admitting people to urinate out extra fluid. Well, these two figures have bars that show the medications that these patients are taking while in the hospital, the treatments that are getting while in the hospital. And these tall bars are the diuretics, and the little bars are the other drugs that they may be getting. And the vast majority of patients, the only drug that they're getting are diuretics. So we have a very large population that's in the hospital to urinate out this extra fluid. In order to develop a product for this, what we needed to do is create a pharmaceutical formulation, the drug that's in the cartridge, that is compatible with the subcutaneous infusion below the skin. And we did research. We wanted to have a high concentration, pH neutral formulation, found it, filed a patent application, patent in the United States issued. We have very favorable process going on in other territories. Some of it is approved, others it's allowed, and we're progressing towards the issue. But we have an issued patent with a patent life until 2040, very strong long-term patent protection for the space. The device was developed in partnership with our German partner, Gerresheimer. It consists of 3 components: a reusable unit, electromechanical piece, motor, battery, electronics, a drug cartridge where the drug is in. You slide that in that green piece, and the green piece is a disposable component that is thrown away after each treatment. Patient wears that, as you've seen in some of the other pictures, for 5 hours on their stomach. Tiny needle comes out at the bottom, delivers the drug. At the end, it pulls the needle back in when the treatment is ready. Patient can easily do this at home. We've now done over 500 of these treatments, and it's very well tolerated and very effective. There are a number of key considerations in the design of the product. One of them, obviously, we want to take care of the patient: small, light, easy to use, high efficiency. But we also build in things for the providers. What providers like to do when you're in the emergency room, they want to show it to you, they want to stick it on your stomach, how it's going to work. And then we build in, for example, a travel home feature. You can travel home comfortably and then turn it on while at home. If you were to turn it on in the emergency room, then these patients would get diuresis. They've got to go to the bathroom frequently. So we built in a number of things for the hospital for easy adoption. For the payer, it's a highly cost-efficient design. This disposable unit is a low-cost disposable unit, and the reusable unit can be used 48 times. And then we build a number of things for the environment where you throw away as a piece of plastic, and there's also on the sterilization side. It's a very environmentally friendly product. So then the question is, how well does this really work? This is from a study published in a leading peer-reviewed journal that shows two lines of diuresis, the total amount urinated out by the participant. The blue line is our product. It's the subcutaneous furosemide product. The red line is the intravenous administration of the same drug. And you see that we are a little better, if you like, at the end. We have about 3.6 liters that the person urinates out, very close to a gallon with a single treatment. And we're at 115% versus IV. So there's no compromise versus the IV standard treatment in the hospital. And it's excellent, very well tolerated by the patient while the treatment's going on. One sort of unusual thing about the stories also is that typically industry and the community have some sort of an economic relationship. The people who stand behind the product, the experts, are paid to do so by the company. In this case, the community, these are the top 10 experts in the world. There are 580,000 physicians who have a heart failure association in the literature. And these are the top 10 people in the world. And I would dare to say that if you ask any one of these about who we are and what we're doing and why it's important, you're going to get a positive answer. Dr. Javed Butler is at the very top, was at the FDA meetings with us. He was at the meetings with Medicare at CMS with us. John McMurray is running the trial in the United Kingdom, also participated in FDA meetings and meetings with the UK health authorities. But yes, has not just asked me to chair a meeting at one of the sessions. So the community knows as well, but really views this product as a product that the world needs and a product that they're strongly behind, despite the fact that they have no economic reason from us. Most these individuals are not on any payment schedule from us. In the United Kingdom, very unusual, the National Health Service in the United Kingdom has an inherently adverse relationship with the industry. They approached us to do a study with our product, which I believe is the first in the history of the NHS to do a study with an unapproved product. And the only reason that they're doing this is that they cannot afford hospitalizations for heart failure anymore. There are too many, they're growing, and they view this as an option to reduce cost in the United Kingdom. Study's ongoing. We just met with the investigators last weekend. I want to tell you a little bit about our plan. So what is it that we're doing? And one thing that I think I realized very much during my career, when you create a product, you got to ask yourself, who's there waiting for you with open arms to say, this is what I want, and I'm going to help you get this product widely used. And the interesting thing for us is that it's really the hospital. Everyone is welcoming this. It's great for the patients, great for the payer, but the party that can really make a difference are the hospitals. As I pointed out previously, hospitals are in crisis. And the way that we think about it, if you depict this on the left, you have this hospital that is full. Hospitals don't have beds. They don't have staff. They want to use the beds for procedures where they make money. Typically, they make money when they open up a patient, when they do surgery, not when the patient is there to urinate out the fluid. And what we're working with these hospital systems on is this decongestion at home. Home is where my bathroom is. This is a phrase that we're using with the medical community. And we start sending people home from the emergency room, as you see here, with the device on their stomach to go and lose that extra water while in the comfort of their own home. So we're going to launch this product in the US in the fourth quarter of this year, and we are ready for it. We have the product is manufactured. We have all the parties lined up, from the third-party logistics provider to the distributors, and we're doing this in a partnership with an entity called Eversana. They provide these services for us, so it's not that we have to staff up. We're using their services. But most importantly, we have 8 leading hospital systems in the US committed to launching workflows to send people home with our device. So it's a very different model than a typical pharmaceutical marketing and sales model where you have a pharmaceutical representative knocking on an individual doctor's office door. That's not what we're doing. We're going to the hospital system and working with the hospital system and the leadership on these workflows that are to the benefit of theirs and ours. We also expect that we're going to see considerable sort of inbound demand, if you like. We have a trade show participation in 2 weeks, and then we're working in one state with Blue Cross Blue Shield plan and health systems on a sort of statewide demonstration project. There's a lot of momentum to launch this product in the fourth quarter of this year. We want to summarize sort of how big can this be, and over the years with this project, a number of different groups have modeled out the size of the opportunity. I don't think I've seen any number come out less than $800 million in revenue. This is what a company called Alira Health did independently last year, and they concluded that by 2030, that there's a forecast of 3 million units for us and $1 billion in net sales. We have independently done similar modeling. We came out with roughly half of it, 1.6 million unit sales. At that time, we have $550 million worth of revenue of net sales, and at the gross margin in the mid 70% range. So it is a very large opportunity. There are very strong forces at play here. That number that we have corresponds to about a 10% penetration. And you can ask yourself, if this was me, my mother, my relative, or a hospital, why wouldn't they embrace it? And so we believe that the opportunity might be substantially bigger, but I think this is sort of what we feel completely comfortable standing behind as realistic revenue targets. I want to summarize it here. I'd love to take some questions after, but it's an unusual opportunity for a number of different reasons. We have this tentative FDA approval, but also this company was funded by an individual, and it's really extremely rare to have a company reach this stage of an FDA approval, tentative FDA approval, but open for launching a product, European filing with the funds of a single individual. Typically, companies in this stage have a syndicate of venture firms, and it's impossible for any outside investor to get in other than IPO participation on a minor basis, etc. We have a very strong IP position on what I consider a unique product, and again, we have a very strong regulatory position there. We're looking for the $15 million to fund the company until cash flow positive in 2026. Let me pause here and welcome any questions.
Okay, great. So was this a 510(k) approval?
Very good question. The point that I should have addressed. No, there is no device in here, and the FDA regulates these as drugs, and the device is the drug delivery system, very similar to auto injectors. So there's no 510(k), there's no separate device filing. It purely is a drug filing. It's also completely commercialized as a pharmaceutical. So very different, much easier, much more profitable to market this as a drug. So it's an NDA, a 505(b)(2) NDA for those who are familiar with it. It was an 80,000 pages application in 2023, and then we got approval in October of 2024 for the product.
And what about an insurance code?
There is a CPT code for the actual, if the hospital were to place this on the patient, there is a CPT code for that already for the administration of furosemide in this way. It will be reimbursed through the pharmaceutical framework. So it's an NDC code, pharmaceutical reimbursement framework. I want to specifically mention Kevin Murphy, who's on the call with us. So Kevin has extensive managed care and payer relationship experience throughout his career, and Kevin has led meetings with payers, very unusual meetings. We don't come in through the pharmaceutical door. We don't go in the usual pharmaceutical discussions, but we come in through the medical door to say we can help you to reduce this inpatient burden for heart failure. And we've had an incredibly warm reception. A payer would save about 70 to 80% for each person who we route back home from the emergency room to treatment at home. So it's economically very advantageous for payers to support this. We've had a very memorable meeting that Kevin had where we asked the payer, what we ask from you is a no prior authorization, so everyone can prescribe the product, and a copay in the $40 to $75 range. And the payer said that was a no-brainer. What else are you looking for? We say, no, that's all that we need to implement this product.
And what do you think about medical device multiples versus drug multiples?
So I've been involved with medical devices throughout my career as well. Medical device is there are very few easy medical device commercial stories, and there are a lot of failed medical device stories. And I think if you look at the revenue forecast that we have, this 10% penetration, $540 million in 5 years. I met earlier this week with someone who reached a revenue of $100 million for a product, and a pharmaceutical company acquired them for $1.4 billion. These are the products that pharma companies desire to have for two reasons: A, the revenue and the profit, but also the relationships that it builds. This is a way to get into a discussion with a hospital system and a payer that a typical product does not have. In most cases, these are adverse relationships. Now you have this synergistic relationship. So I think that there is a certainly greater than $1 billion acquisition opportunity in the not too distant future.
And then who are your customers? Is it the hospital systems?
So in our world, it's obviously the payer pays the bills, correct? So and these are both Medicare directly as well as Medicare Advantage, so the commercial form of Medicare, if you like. So these are people who pay the bills, but they're paying the bill to avoid a more expensive bill for the hospitalization. I think they have a good motivation to do so. The parties that we engage at the moment to get there are the hospitals and the hospital systems. And in most models, the hospitals will do buy and bill. So the hospital will buy our product, have it in inventory, have it available in the emergency room when the patient sits there. And when they got to decide where the disposition of the patient, someone who can go home, they would take it out of the PICSA system, the electronic pharmacy system, or they order it from the pharmacy. The pharmacist will bring it down to the emergency room, and the patient leaves with our product. So in that case, the hospital is our customer that will order it through the distributors, buy it through the distributors, if you like.
And then what is the price for a unit?
Yep, very good question. We plan to price at the wholesale acquisition price, which is the list price that companies refer to, at $475, and that means that the discounted price that Medicare will pay for is $365. So it's $365 per unit, and a typical patient needs 7, 8, 9, 10 units to replace a hospital stay. So the patient is, let's say, a $3,000 opportunity for us, but that $3,000 opportunity replaces a $24,000 to $30,000 episode of care that includes the initial hospitalization, the post-hospital care. And so it's the $3,000 that this product would cost is a fraction of what the inpatient care would cost for the same patient. We've had people who said, you're leaving money on the table. I worked with payers in the past, or worked with venture firms in the past who said, if you save the payer money, you're not charging enough. But the reason that we're doing this is that because we believe that if you want to change a medical care paradigm broadly, not just 2%, but broadly, that you got to price it at the level where everyone wins and you capture that tailwind that wouldn't be there if we were to charge $900 per unit.
Are these NYHA class for HF patients or earlier classes?
Very good question as well. So the New York Heart Association class, heart failure is most widely used as sort of a background. What does the patient on a good day look like? And some of these patients are New York Heart Association class 2 and 3, or almost all, the vast majority are 2 and 3, who deteriorate. Early on in the presentation, I didn't point to it specifically, but I showed this graph where these heart failure patients are on this slow decline slope, but then they dip. They have these dips where it suddenly gets worse. It's patients who went to on the Memorial Day trip. That patient may be normally a class 2, may be able to play a full round of golf. It's not like when they were 20, but a full round of golf. But when they are fluid overloaded with their 8 liter of extra fluid, that patient is a 4. That patient that could be uncomfortable at rest, etc. So this is really used across 2, 3, and 4. But most of these patients, when they have this fluid overload episode, they're for sure a 3, and some of them are temporarily 4. In the study that we did, we had some great examples where someone was a 4 when the first dose was administered, and the next day they were a 2. You can imagine that if you urinate out 3 liters of extra fluid, that you feel a lot better. So many went from 4 to 3 or from 3 to 2, significantly improved when that fluid was out. We had patients in there who lost 6 liters, a gallon and a half on a single dose. So it takes a little imagination to see that you feel a lot better if you have a weak heart and you urinate that fluid out.
Do you have rights in the EU, and what about the rest of the world?
So we are fine. We have just to explain it in more detail. In Europe, you separate the device approval from the drug approval, and then they come together at the end at the drug approval stage. The device is under review at the moment. The drug is with the publisher. Drug filing with the publisher. We've had the European Medicines Agency has agreed that this product represents a important therapeutic improvement for the benefit of the EU member states, very unusual, and that allows us to use the centralized procedure. So we're now submitting under the centralized procedure and should get pan-EU approval in 2026, assuming that the review goes well. We're separately filing for the MHRA, obviously after Brexit. The MHRA is the UK, so after Brexit, the UK is separate filing. But in many respects, you sort of flip the European file for the UK. We have not undertaken any other country initiatives. The EU and the US markets together are at least a $2 billion opportunity. And we do have patent filings. The Chinese patent was just allowed. So the patent in India was granted. So we have a strong patent position there. And it's a likely exit for our company is an acquisition by a global pharmaceutical manufacturer who would take care of Japan and China and other places where there's revenue opportunity.
What is the pre-money valuation for the 15 million funding, and is there a portion of this 15 million already secured?
Yeah, so we have about 5.5 out of the 15 secured by one of the insiders, and the pre-money is probably stated here is 90 million euro pre-money valuation, and that is less than the total amount invested. And objective, the reason for doing this is that we want to do this. We have the top priority to work on the market and have no. So it's a real good investment opportunity. If you run a valuation model on our discounted cash flow or any other model looking at this, you're going to end up with a much higher number. But we would love to get this done with investors who feel good about this important story and want to do this with us.
What is the total addressable market for Lasix ONYU, and how do you see this evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, the total addressable market, there are currently, is probably the best way to approach, there are currently about 16 million treatments IV furosemide, so the same drug, given in the United States annually in hospitals or medical centers, so 16 million units. If we were to replace every one of them, that would be a 16 million, $5 billion opportunity for us, for the United States alone. Obviously, many of these patients are not good candidates, and so the addressable market is what we believe 25% of that. And I think the key question that we've got to that is not, it's not our product that determines that size. It is how well we can create a healthcare system around this. If this 82-year-old with the 10 liters fluid overload is sent home, that's great for the patient, etc. But someone needs to follow up with the patient. Someone needs to call the patient, make sure that they show up on the follow-up, the examination, etc. So for the speed of penetration and how far this can go, it really depends on where the healthcare system is moving. It's important to note that we are benefiting tremendously from COVID-19 in this context. If you, before 2019, had said the doctor will call the patient at home or do a Teams call, Zoom call with the patient, most of them would have said that will not happen. And now the use of electronic media to communicate with patients at home is way, way up. So we get more and more optimistic about this rapid uptake. But it's hard to predict whether or not we'll end up being $1 billion in net sales in the US or 2.5 or 3 billion. But there really are very few scenarios where this would be a small product because the need is so high and there really is no alternative. The society cannot afford to treat these patients in hospitals.
Okay, great, thank you. So where was this technology invented?
Excellent question. When I was approached by Gerresheimer in 2019, so I had discovered this drug formulation, and I was able to get this high concentration, gets it in a small cartridge. Gerresheimer approached me, and they had developed this patch pump, the little pump that I showed on the chart, together with Sanofi and Google, for the purpose of insulin delivery. And they said to me, we have this device, a lot of thought and investment have gone into the design. It contains this reusable component, electromechanical, it's this low-cost disposable. And I said, that's perfect, because my cartridges, we can make my cartridge fit in, and we have this product. So the core technology was a Swiss-German technology that was originally pursued for insulin delivery, small, robust, easy to manufacture, low cost to manufacture. And we changed that together with Gerresheimer for the use of the diuretic. We stripped out some things that we didn't need, doesn't need to communicate with your cell phone, etc. And that became our product.
Thank you. This question's for Kevin. Lasix is often given to thoroughbred racehorses. Are they potential targets of your initiative?
There may be an unfair question for Kevin. I don't know, Kevin, you want to say something about it?
He kind of raised his hand and said he wanted to answer it.
I'm sorry, I hit the I apologize.
So obviously, furosemide is used in across the animal. It's actually widely used in dogs, for example. Dogs have cardiomyopathies that they get. So furosemide is widely used in animals. We have no desire to go there, and obviously for the racehorses, it's very controversial. And this product is really not what they want. They want to give an IV or an intramuscular high dose in the poor animals, and this little patch pump over 5 hours I don't see a horse running the race with the patch pump on his neck.
How can we avoid that the patients not taking the pills also decide not to use the device?
Yeah, it's important to remember that this is used for a course of treatment when they have this dip. Correct? This patient who went to Pennsylvania, didn't take the medication, 10 liters fluid overload. These patients are uncomfortable. They have no, it really feels, the pictures show that they're sort of drowning. And this is the alternative to them, for them to get it out as an alternative to the hospital treatment. There is a risk of stopping too early. And we are very conscious of that, where patients would stop too early because they feel so much better on day 2 or 3, and then they need to get the rest of the fluid out. We've seen some cases where they may want to restart 6, 7 days later when they fill back up. You really need to get them really dry. We've seen cases where patients are told to use 3 units and then talk to the doctor to decide if they need to continue, and that they actually continued with the treatment because this is something that they want to do. It's important to note that these patients are uncomfortable. It's like pain relief, correct? If people take pain relief to get rid of the pain, and if they don't take it, the pain comes back. And this is the same. They view this as a treatment of their symptoms, it's not like a lipid lowering agent where you really have no idea if it's doing anything, and you may still incur a cost in getting it. So non-compliance really hasn't been the case.
Is your formulation of the molecule IP protected as a pro-drug chemistry approach?
No, it's not. It's a composition of matter. So it really is in order to explain, so furosemide is the active ingredient. It's a diuretic, an old diuretic. Furosemide is insoluble at neutral pH. So the old furosemide Lasix products have a pH of 9. They're very alkaline. And if you inject an alkaline substance under the skin, it burns. It's a burning, painful sting. It's unpleasant. So we had to bring the pH down to the neutral range, 7.5. And in order to do so, we had to add excipients to it. We had a very special mixture of excipients that was able to get it down, and at the same time increase the concentration. So a normal product has a concentration of 10 milligrams per ml. Ours is 30 milligrams per ml. So we needed to do 2 things that sort of work against each other. We need to get the concentration up and the pH down, and we're able to achieve that with a particular compound. The compound is made of Iowa cornstarch. It's a sugar molecule, and it sort of creates an envelope around the furosemide, and the envelope then prevents the precipitation. So it stays in solution because of this, and there's strong IP around this through 2039 or 2040, depending on which geography you're in.
Great. And I'm going to combine the last 2 questions. What is the use of proceeds, and what is the exit value and timing expected?
So the primary use of proceeds is to launch this product in Q4 of this year and achieve profitability in 2026. We have various models, including discounted models, where we're saying, if things don't go that well, can we still achieve profitability? And we believe we can achieve profitability based on this use of proceeds. The second part of the use of proceeds, much smaller, is the European registration, get the product approved in Europe. We have no commercial plans as of yet ourselves, so we're not investing in European commercial operation. And already the third one is our standard operating our SG&A portion.
And the exit value and timing expected?
Exit value, as I pointed out, if you look at companies with these kinds of revenue trajectories in the pharma space, I don't think there has been a single one that was acquired for less than $1 billion, and most of these are in the high, it's 1.8 billion or up to 3 billion. And it really depends upon the timing. If someone is doing this early, but it's very hard to get to a model where the exit value will be less than $1 billion. As people know, M&A in our world is incredibly hard to pinpoint. You can't say it's going to be Q4 of next year and it's going to be at this valuation. And it depends upon the appetite of the M&A world. As I mentioned earlier, there's sort of two value propositions to an acquirer. One of them is revenue. It's a very attractive source of additional product revenue. Many of these companies want to build out their product portfolio to fund the infrastructure that they have in cardiovascular disease, for example. But a second source, which I think is now very well recognized, is building relationship with hospital systems. A typical prescription pharmaceutical company has no or a poor relationship with a hospital system. And what's very well recognized right now is that many patients start their prescription products of the prescription product while in the hospital. And if you're in the hospital and you get your SGLT2 inhibitor from AstraZeneca, then the patient will most likely stay on that product going forward. So hospitals are increasingly a target for big pharma, and we provide them with a product where they are welcome to have this dialogue. So we think there's a real strong value proposition for acquiring pharma companies.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And for the audience, if you do have additional questions and want to be connected to the team, please reach out to me. Everyone out there has my email address. I'm happy to facilitate that introduction. In turn, they will have your information as well, and we'll be reaching out. Peter, I want to turn it back over to you for just a final close comments before we close out.
Yeah, well, obviously want to thank everyone for their interest. I think I've been around this world for a long period of time, and there are very few opportunities where you have this very favorable synergy between societal needs, that you can't open a paper and read about how dire the situation in the healthcare system is, and this is a better care for less. It's an unusual risk profile because we have the FDA. Our FDA approval letter, tentative approval letter, can be downloaded from the FDA's website. So this is very different from when you take an unknown risk. And we'd love to engage with investors who would enjoy being part of this and get rewarded in the process. So again, I want to thank you for your time and interest today.
Great. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.